There are 4,218 PS2 games, and I've got to beat every one of them. I've got to own the game because I'm playing on the original hardware, but I've beefed it up using a RetroTink 5X, some component cables, and more to come soon. Can I do this before I die of old age? I hope so. Rozen Maiden Duellwalzer was released by Taito on April 27, 2006. Originally adapted from the manga series Rozen Maiden and the anime adaptation of the same name, Duellwalzer follows a similar story in visual novel form. There isn't much info about this game in English online, so let's see what we can find in this Japanese exclusive experience. This is our first big visual novel translation experience, and I just want to say that this will be kind of experimental this first go around. Not to worry though, I'll still be doing these plenty of times after this, so I'll get better at it, and we'll probably have better technology like AI to help me translate a little better on the fly. As of right now, I'm using an iPhone with a translate feature with a camera pointed at my screen, translating in real time. Obviously, it's not the best translations, and I have to figure it out myself while I'm playing the game, which is half the fun. It's actually a lot of fun to do that, but that means that you'll get some inaccuracies. So if anyone wants to say something in the comments about the inaccuracies, that's fine, because don't forget, this is actually an anime with an official sub that you can read in English. So if you'd like to see more about this game and see what the story is actually about, and in a manner that's a little bit more interesting than a slow visual novel of half the anime here, because there's two games, then go check out the anime itself with the English subs. I'll still detail the journey a little bit, but it will be much shorter, and I will skip a lot of story elements that either were nothingness or didn't get translated correctly. Alright then, at the start of the game, we get a cutscene with a lot of different shots of the anime itself. I assume it's from the anime. It might actually just be some still shots they made specifically for this game. I'm not sure. But we see a lot of things that we aren't sure about. We see about 4 characters that look good and 1 character that looks bad. She's got purple, blue eyes, and she like comes out of a wall at one point. And the music for the opening of this anime scene is really interesting. It's good-ish because it's not your typical poppy Japanese song. It's very odd. It's got a very odd rhythm and harmony to it, and I like it. After this, the game begins and we're introduced to 2 characters, June and Nori. June is our character. We play as June, who is a middle schooler who is got some social anxiety and has been made fun of at school and refuses to go back, which I can understand the sentiment. Then his sister Nori is a little bit older and she still goes to school. She tries to convince him to, and then she mentions how their parents are away, which is how this whole anime can even happen. Their parents are off on a trip and they just leave them alone for weeks and months at a time. June finds a letter in the mail for him that he thinks is junk, but it's some kind of contest that he won, and he was drawn and he gets to choose a prize. He can choose if he wants it or not. Obviously, I choose it. I'm not sure what happens if you say no. I'm sure they just force you to anyway, but I choose yes, and I accept the prize, and I get this little ornate box with a small doll inside. When he opens it up, he can stick a key in the back and wind it up, and this doll comes alive. It's a doll from some kind of we don't know where she's from. She's just a doll, but she suddenly is very human. She may be 2 feet tall and she may be a doll, and you may have stuck a key in her back, which is a very odd experience for him to do apparently, but she has her own thoughts and wants and desires and does whatever she wants to do. And the other caveat is that it's not just a doll, it's his wife, although that's the translation. It sounds like a more master-servant type of thing, where he's the servant and she's the master, or at least that's how she takes it. So what happens is once he activates this doll, they're now connected. He gets a ring on his finger, she saps his strength when she needs to fight, and he has to try and get his strength back and help her, and they have to live together. Now that seems interesting right at first, until you find out that there's very few fights between this doll and whatever she's fighting. So you're mostly just living with a doll that's 2 feet high that's supposedly real. Now this doll's name is Shinku, although her name translates very often to crimson as it's the color she's wearing. All the dolls are referred to as the color they are wearing, but they have actual names. The names are a little more difficult to say sometimes, and it's easier to identify them on the screen if I just call them by the color that they're wearing. So I will refer to her as crimson and the other ones as the colors they are wearing, so it's easily identifiable. At this point, they're really just kind of talking a lot. She's trying to make him do whatever she wants him to. She's like, I'm the master, you're the servant. He's confused as to why a doll is ordering him around. We really don't know the extent of what she is here to do or why she's even here. And suddenly suddenly a little clown doll bursts through the window, and he's the same height as she is, which is really weird. But she says, all right, it's time to fight. So he puts the ring on to give her strength, and now the ring is stuck on his finger, by the way. So she fights the clown, and this is one of the very few times in the game we have gameplay. It is very much like a single fight Toho bullet hell-like experience, and it's very simple. Even all the way up to the very last fight in the game, this is how it is. You hold circle, you fire, you dodge the bullets. You kill them very quickly, and that's it. There's nothing else. There's no strategies. It's just dodge a few bullets while holding circle, and eventually they'll die. After the fight, we kind of just mess around a little bit, and they talk, and my sister tries to come in my room, and we try and hide Crimson from her, but Crimson is giving us problems, and we actually get a choice between putting her back in the box or pulling her hair, which I choose pull her hair because that doesn't make any sense, and she just hits me. So I don't know what the fuck the options are supposed to do for me. But then we get to learn about Crimson's quirk, because all anime characters have little quirks about them that are like their whole character. And Crimson's quirk is that she's very, very serious, but she loves tea, and she wants tea all the time, and she knows all the things about tea you could ever know, and it's really annoying. So just be prepared for her to constantly beg June to make her tea, and then be upset that it's not what she wanted because she has like really peculiar and specific tastes. Shortly after Crimson sucks down all the tea in the house, this woman just comes in through the window next. She's like a regular sized woman, and she's arguing with Crimson, and she's kind of got her own little quirk, which is she loves like killing, and that's something that happens a lot in anime. Someone likes to talk about killing and like, oh, I'm a killer and I'm psycho, and it's like, god damn it. Everyone says that. So then we have to fight the little clown again. I'm not sure why, but Mercury's there to kill Crimson. Crimson kills the clown, and then we move on. After the fight, June demands to know what exactly is going on, who this Mercury is, and why is there dolls fucking everywhere. But no one really gives her an answer. Instead, Nori, your sister, barges in and learns about Crimson. She's totally cool with it though. She's just down for anything. And she gets a little upset because Crimson's mean to her right at first, but they eventually get along, so it doesn't matter. The episode comes to a close, and episode 2 begins with us waking up in the morning, and Crimson is sitting on the couch with my sister in the room just making breakfast, and she's watching TV. Apparently, it's a show about puppets, murder mystery, and a dog named Kun Kun, which she becomes infatuated with it as the episodes go on. And we come in and we are talking about this dog puppet show, which, by the way, is not shown for a little while, so I'm confused on the translations, and I think it's something else. I had no clue it was a murder mystery puppet show with animals. I thought it was news that was talking about murders that happened out in the world, but nope, apparently it's a puppet show. We suddenly get a shift in the story, and we go to someone else who also owns a doll. The girl's name is Tomoe, and she is actually in our school. The doll's name is Hina Strawberry. I'll just refer to her as Strawberry since that's the color she's wearing. Anyway, Strawberry is very upset that Tomoe keeps going to school and leaves her home alone. She's obviously not happy that she has to just sit here alive by herself with no one to talk to, but she's taking it to another level. See, we just met her and she already seems absolutely insane. Tomoe is just trying to go to school and be a middle schooler, but she was sent this doll. She has no clue why she has it either. So it's, like a shitty situation. And that's it. We just learn about that and we go back to Crimson and June. Back in June's room, he's upset that his window is still broken and doesn't know how to fix it. Well, Crimson apparently has the power to slightly rewind an object or something. I don't know. She fixes the window by rewinding it in some fashion, but it's never explained enough for us to understand. In fact, I don't know if we ever actually learn the extent of these dolls' powers. Even though they have some, we barely see them anyway. This window fixing is about the biggest thing she ever does. Then next, Nori comes in the room and is infatuated suddenly with how cute Crimson is, and literally cannot keep her hands off of her, which is weird. Who does that? So she tries hugging her multiple times and being extremely, there's that point where someone is cutesy and sweet, but it goes over the line. Like his sister's voice and the way she says things is so over dramatic that it's hard to accept. After this, we make even more fucking tea because that's just what's happening. And eventually, Crimson wants to find a better, more quiet place in the house to drink her tea. And she finds the bathroom, which she doesn't understand. She's a doll. She doesn't have to go to the bathroom. But she likes it because if it's perfumey smell, it's small, and it has a little table, which is the toilet closed. So yeah, she likes to drink tea on the toilet. Anyway, Tomoe suddenly shows up. I'm not sure if she's friends with my sister. She knows me a bit, but she comes over and we give her some tea, and then she whispers something odd to us. She says something about the dolls. Like she knows about these dolls. Obviously she has Strawberry and we have Crimson, but she knows and she whispers something to us and my sister and Crimson, and it's supposed to like let us on to whatever's going on, which again, we still don't know much about these dolls, so it doesn't matter. We get to see a scene where Crimson is talking to a small floating glowing red orb that she calls Hori, which I believe is some kind of power source for her. In fact, all of the dolls have that little circle that glows in the air that are their power sources. Now they're all called something different, like Renpika and Hori. I'm not really sure exactly why, but this is what they are, and I believe they are their power source. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of hard to tell from the translation, but those things do help them. Understandably, June does not like this situation that has been thrust upon this 10-year-old kid, so he like has some problems with it. But the doll, for some reason, does care a little bit about him. I mean, he's got the ring and he's the only power source. I mean, you can imagine if you're trapped in a box where the only way you can get out is for someone to open it, stick a key in your back, turn it, and then you have to put a ring on them. She probably has to have some sort of, feeling about this person, so I guess she cares. We see Tomoe arrive back home after coming to our house, and Strawberry is pissed that she left yet again. Now she's full on insane, and she says, "I ain't being alone no more." And she takes Tomoe, and that's it. The scene ends, so we don't know exactly what happens yet. Back in June's House of Horrors with his sister and Crimson, they're both talking while June is still kind of brooding in his room, and Crimson suddenly realizes that Hori has come back and is telling her something. Well, she needs to go upstairs into their attic and look at the mirror. They have a mirror. Well, this mirror is important for one reason or another. I'm not exactly sure why, but these dolls have some kind of power with mirrors. And so Crimson says we need to go up there. Nori goes with her, and they're talking about the mirror and how they might need to use it for something. Obviously, Nori has no clue what she's talking about. I don't have any clue what Crimson's talking about. But then we're suddenly shown a backrooms-esque toy room that goes on forever, and Strawberry is standing in it talking to Tomoe, who is now dressed up to look like Strawberry. She's now keeping her in whatever this weird world is and telling her she will never be alone again. So yeah, this doll needs to be dead, I think. Crimson uses the mirror to enter Strawberry's world and try to save Tomoe. Apparently, she wants to save her. I'm not really sure their motivations at all. But once she gets there, she says, "Hey, Strawberry, we know each other. We're dolls, so apparently we know each other. So what are you doing?" And Strawberry's lost her mind, so she's not really making sense, and she wants to fight Crimson. Well, we finally get to learn the reason for the dolls fighting anything in the first place. You see, the dolls are all made, and they're supposed to be playing a game called the Alice game, literally the Alice game. We don't know the goal of the game, except for collecting other dolls' Rosa Mystica, which is kind of like their soul, maybe. I'm not sure exactly, but we have this screenshot of this kind of fairy-looking creature with wings and hair. I'm not sure how big they are, I can't tell, but they're glowing, so apparently this Rosa Mystica is really important, and if you kill another doll, you get the Rosa Mystica. The whole point is to gather them. What for, we don't know yet, but if Crimson kills Strawberry, we get her Rosa Mystica. We then fight Strawberry, and at the end of the fight, well, she's still alive and everything's still fine, but then we go back to June, who wanders upstairs, somehow finding the mirror, maybe a call from Crimson, goes into the mirror, goes into the world as well to see Crimson and Strawberry fighting. You have another fight. I'm not sure why you fight twice, but you have another fight where they fight and Crimson wins for sure this time. However, she decides not to take the Rosa Mystica. I'm not sure why, but she doesn't take it. So the doll lives. Strawberry is alive. She then says she regrets what she did to Tomoe, and maybe it's not a good idea to be under Tomoe's command. So they break the contract that she had with her. Apparently, when you stick a wind-up thing in the back of a doll, you make a contract. That's why I'm wearing the ring. That's why Crimson and I are together. Well, the same thing happened with Tomoe and Strawberry. So they are breaking the contract, and now Strawberry is going to be on a contract with me. So now Crimson and Strawberry are going to be taking my energy, and I have to live with them both. But I don't understand. This doll was insane. Why is she still alive? Why did she suddenly change? I don't think there's really a good explanation in the translation for me, maybe in the anime itself. The rest of this chapter is Strawberry acclimating to now living with us. So we go to sleep and wake up in the morning, and then just silly shenanigans happen that aren't really shenanigans based on the actions, but it just takes a while to go through all the dialogue where they're all learning more about each other. June is still confused as to why there's fucking dolls living in his house. And now there's three 3 women staring at me constantly during conversations, which has got to be something for someone. Like, someone's like, oh, they're staring at me and listening to me. I don't know. I don't understand this anime. Whatever. The next day we wake up and we learn a little bit more about the dolls. Not that there's that much more to learn since they just keep saying the same things and using their quirks as pretty much their only character trait. Although eventually we do go back out in the living room and watch more Kun Kun, the detective dog, which is cool, I guess. Strawberry then begins begging for her favorite dessert, which has strawberries on it, if you couldn't tell, but we don't know what it is. We then get a roulette wheel where it lets us choose, although it's random. You just kind of hit circle and it will eventually stop. Although it looks like there's a strawberry cake type item and then maybe a mochi or a rice ball with strawberry in the middle. I don't know what exactly this plays a part in for the game, but we end up getting the cake. The dolls then have a bunch more pointless conversations that lead us into the bathroom and out of the window where Crimson balances on the outside of the house. But then Mercury comes back to get really upset that instead of taking Strawberry's Rosa Mystica in the battle earlier, we instead gave her a contract and kept her alive. Mercury's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just a kid. After this, the day just keeps going on and we have more conversations about literally nothing. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here except not taking in any more of this information. Eventually, though, it becomes nighttime and something breaks through the window like the clown did earlier. It's another box with another fucking doll. Her name is Sususuke, which I'll refer to as Jade for ease during the video, and you know that she's green because of her name. Shortly after meeting her, we decide to fight her, and she fights us with a large watering can. I'm not really sure why she has a large watering can, but it's the thing she uses to shoot bullets at us. And when we defeat her, instead of taking her Rosa Mystica, we again let her live, and that's it. I don't understand why we're doing these things, but then she talks about how much she hates humans, and now I'm wondering why we left her alive. Well, we go to bed, we wake up, and then everyone talks for a while, until the new girl, Jade, decides to tell us that she has a power to go into our dreams. And then she does it almost immediately afterward. We go into our own dreams, then it's a big wasteland of computers and desks, and we hear a bunch of voices, and the voices are said by students and teachers. So we're going back into our dreams, and June is not having a good time at school. It's why he's not in school. He was made fun of for the things he likes. He also has high social anxiety, so it obviously doesn't help. And so now he's reliving this through his dreams. You hear students talking about him. He can't stop thinking about it. He sees all these broken computers and desks, and he's only reminded of all of the problems he had while he was in school. And it's almost like reassuring him that not being at school is the better idea. Eventually, after hearing all these voices and seeing all these things, we get attacked by a monster made of paper, and we yell. I don't know if we're like, who are we, Vegeta? And we yell, and it just falls through a crack in the ground and smashes up. Jade, who doesn't like humans, says, wow, that was pretty good for a human, but all I did was scream, so I'm not really sure what she's referring to. But the papers this monster was made up of are my old tests from school. You can see grades on them in this picture, and that was it. It was like stomping around. I don't know how it was stomping around, even though it was made of paper, and it was just my old test scores. We then visit my world tree in my dreams. It's the tree that is the makeup of my whole being? I'm not really sure, but she says it's healing because we confronted our test scores as a monster? I'm not really sure, but she says it's healing. She's here to help us heal, even though she hates humans, but she's doing it. And then we try to escape, and she is kind of drifting off into this blackness, and we grab her hand, and we act as if we've known each other for a long time, and we say, no, we'll always be there to help you. And June is finally coming out of his shell, and it's really weird, and I don't like how jarring and odd this is. Just before the end of this chapter at nighttime, Jade and I are talking, and apparently she is trying to convince herself that she still doesn't forgive humans, but I think she might be changing because she went into our dream. She's obviously existed before this, and she has had other things going on. I mean, we never made a contract with her like we did Crimson and then eventually Strawberry, so I'm not sure exactly why this is convincing her otherwise, but maybe it's the situation she's been in. I don't know. We don't know much about her yet. Okay, so it's the next day. Be prepared for what is the one slightly interesting thing about this game almost, and it's this thing called the Staircase War. It's an anime thing, I guess. I don't know, man. But here's what happens. So in the morning, everyone's kind of starting to get cozy together, and we go downstairs and start watching Kun Kun the Dog Detective. Crimson and June are just sitting there watching it. Strawberry and Jade are trying to eat that strawberry cake from earlier. Strawberry says, hey, I never got to eat my strawberry. I think Jade took it. Jade says, no, you're greedy. You already ate it, and you just want mine. But here, take it. I'll give it up. Strawberry says, no, I want the truth. Jade's like, this is the truth. truth, and then they start a fight where Strawberry runs upstairs into my room. So this is why the staircase gets involved. She's upstairs in my room and she builds a fort to hide behind. Apparently she's, not going to talk to anyone, but we go upstairs and try and talk to her. And as we talk to her and she tries to explain herself, it's super mundane, so I don't give a fuck. They give us another roulette wheel though, and it lets us choose a side. Do we side with Jade or do we side with Strawberry? I believe in the actual anime, we side with Strawberry and we're up there helping her. Well, I happen to win Strawberry on the roulette wheel, which again, I can't stop it specifically, so I don't know. So it stops on her, and so we're on her side. We stay upstairs and we yell at Jade, and Jade yells at us. Crimson doesn't really do anything. She's just kind of downstairs near Jade. And Nori, my sister, is off doing who knows what. I don't know. I think she went to school. So it's the four of us, and we're screaming in this house about someone taking someone else's strawberries. So here's this series of events once this happens. We yell at each other. Then June tries to trick Jade by having a small alligator toy that he says is the truth alligator. And if it bites her, she's not telling the truth. So put your hand in its mouth and you should be fine if you're telling the truth. He's obviously trying to trick her into just telling the truth. Well, then she puts her hand in his mouth and it bites her because he pushes it down, and she still doesn't, no one says anything. Nothing gets solved because of that. Then eventually she says, well, if you guys are going to be staying upstairs, I'm going to stay downstairs in the kitchen, and this is my area, and I get all the food and all the sweets because she loves sweets. I mean, I love chocolate and sweets too. I will eat them all day, every day, but this is absurd. So they're getting mad at each other and she's eating sweets. I think at one point she even shares some of the sweets with us. I don't know why. I think this is just all for attention from them. And then eventually they get mad at each other again because Jade won't shut her mouth. So June takes out some styrofoam and starts squeaking it together to be annoying. But then Jade goes in the kitchen and gets some pan and a ladle and starts banging them together. And we get the most hilarious little sound effects of these two things happening. What is happening? They're just making random shitty noises at each other. What is going on? Listen to that. Yeah, it's terrible. And this goes on. We fight for a while. And do you know what happens? Nothing. Nothing gets figured out. They fight and fight and fight. Okay, and look, the next an hour and a half of gameplay, quotes, is just them moving about the house talking more and more. It's all kind of nothingness. It's, like I said, this is a very, very focused in slice of life. If you were a 10-year-old who got dolls that were also living and lived in your house and were all really annoying and just wanted to talk all day. That's it. We just talk about shit. So let's just kind of move on to the more interesting events as they happen, because that's it. That's the last interesting event that happens, is the staircase war between all the dolls. And it's not even that big of a deal. They just get a little mad at each other. For a strawberry, man. Anyway, Mercury ends up coming to try and get us again. Obviously, she wants to win this Alice game because it's a game. They're supposed to have been made to play this Alice game specifically. So it's weird that these three dolls that are with me aren't. But Mercury is. She's the only one serious about this game. Well, it's nighttime and we finally go to bed, and it's the next chapter. So the next day actually has some things happen, and I'll go over them briefly. The first thing is that June really is interested in what the dolls are, so he tries looking online. He's been looking online every so often to figure it out, but it's never resulted in anything. So today he finally finds that there might be a book out there about this puppeteer named Rozen. He knows that it's actually at his school, but he is scared to go get it because, well, he has social anxiety, and the last time he was at school, people made fun of him. So whenever he goes to the school to try and check this book out, he thinks he hears students laughing and talking about him. So he leaves. Eventually, he's able to overcome this fear. Not only that, but then Tomoe is actually in the school and she helps him. She already knows why he's there. She did the same thing, although she doesn't have the social anxiety. She knew of the book. So she helps him go to the library, find the book, checks it out, and lets him have it and says, hey, there's got some information here about the dolls if you want to know, but I'm kind of done with it because I don't have the doll and I've got a life. So she lets him have the book. He takes it and he learns very little. I mean, it's just this puppeteer named Rozen, and he made these dolls to be lifelike. I'm not really sure exactly why he wants these dolls like this. I couldn't tell from the translations. I assume he maybe had a real life daughter or something like that. But these dolls are supposed to be fighting this Alice game because when they collect all of the Rosa Mystica from each of the other dolls, so let's say Crimson collects 6, as there are 7 dolls total. If she collects 6 other Rosa Mystica, Mystica and keeps him for herself, she wins the Alice game and turns into Alice, the perfect doll. Again, that's why I assume maybe Rozen had a daughter named Alice and he's trying to manifest her inside of these dolls. He sent these dolls out to people they could create contracts with, and they're specific for some reason or another. That's why June got it. That's why Tomoe got it, because it's specifically made for them almost. I don't think he knew who he was making it for, just that they ended up being made for them. Coincidentally, I'm not sure. Speaking of 7 dolls, we actually meet the next doll. Instead of Susuke, it's Sosuke, which is Susuke's sister. They're sisters. But she is stuck with these 2 older humans, an old man and an old woman, and the old man keeps calling her Kazuki, which is his son's name. So he lost a son. The only way he knows to cope is to make this doll dress up as his son and then call her that so he can feel better. His wife, the old woman, is in what seems to be like a coma, and she's just laying there. She's constantly asleep. And we get to see a very small bit of the blue doll's life, and it's just to kind of let you know what is going on. And we can tell, though, that Jade ran away from this situation because she didn't like what was going on, which is understandable, I suppose. After this, though, we get a special section where we're online and you can win a special prize. Each prize is labeled after the Kun Kun dog detective, so it's a special paraphernalia, and they all like him. All the dolls like him, so they all want one of those presents, and they each will take a different one. However, we again have the wheel, so we don't necessarily choose. It's almost random. Whoever's item you get and give to, you are now in a romantic relationship of some sort with them, which is really bizarre, and I don't like it. Why the fuck are we a 10-year-old in a relationship with a doll 2 feet high, unknown age, playing an Alice game where they're stealing their souls from the other dolls? This is really bizarre, and it just doesn't matter in the end. I still gotta play it. So we happen to get Jade's item, the little shovel with the dog on top of it. She loves it, and now she is kind of our thing, which is weird. Okay, it's the next day, and most of the day is spent talking about nonsense. I mean, one part, they were just behind me while I'm on the computer talking about what they're gonna color. They color one of my model cars and make it look all cute, which admittedly it's cute, but that doesn't matter. It's just them coloring my car, and June gets pissed about it. So he gets all mad, and everyone's like, oh, we're sorry. It was just a car. We're just having fun. Eventually, we make our way all the way upstairs in the attic where that mirror is again. Jade looks in the mirror and sees her sister, Blue. And it's like, oh, okay. So now it's kind of like everyone knows that she has a sister. Although the other 2 dolls should already know. They all know each other. Like, the dolls know each other. They know each other by name. So I don't know why this is kind of like news to them. But then they're like, oh yeah, it's not news to us actually. It's news to June and Nori, sure. Okay, so things are getting a little bit more serious at the end here, and we're getting close to the end, and I'm having trouble with the translations. Obviously, watching through the anime will be helpful, but we're doing this specifically for the game, so I'm just going to stick with this for now. And if you watch the anime and know more about it, again, go to the comments, let people know. But at this point, Jade and Blue meet each other through the mirror or through a dream. They speak. We end up fighting Blue for no reason. I'm not really sure why we fight her, but then they end up talking, and Mercury shows up to bother Blue and the old man who keeps calling Blue Kazuki. She's obviously trying to manipulate all the dolls into coming to her so she can get all of the Rosa Mystica at the same time. I mean, why not? It's easier to do it like that, and she feels like she's powerful enough to take them on. Eventually, we go into someone's dream, which is full of clocks. We're trying to figure out how to get out, and it's not simple, but we do eventually get out, and everyone starts to June starts to feel better about himself as things go on. We start to understand the doll's feelings. We start to understand June's feelings. But the big thing is that we actually meet the real Kazuki. So I'm wondering if we are in the dreams of the old woman who is asleep constantly. We talk to Kazuki, and he tries to explain to us what's going on, and he wants to help us. And so he gives us a message to give to his parents to hopefully help them snap out of this weird funk they're in that their child is gone. I mean, that's understandable. Losing your child, I'm sure, is extremely difficult, and I don't think a lot of people recover from it. So getting some words from him from their dream and then being able to relay them to him might actually help. And yes, it does work. They kind of snap out of it. The old woman wakes up. They start to feel better about things, but they still want Blue to kind of be Kazuki, because the old man cannot shut up about Kazuki. He just keeps yelling, Kazuki, Kazuki, every 5 seconds. So yeah, he really needed the help. So Blue decides to stay with the old man and the old woman. Even Jade, we tell her, maybe it's a good idea to go back. You've made a contract with them. You need to go back and stay with your sister anyway. Plus, I'm tired of having you at my house. However, However, that's not what happens. We leave them overnight to stay, and then in the morning, they break into my house and hang out with me. Both of them. Now, we have 4 dolls in our house, my sister, and I'm just a 10-year-old who has no clue what's going on. Nori then asks if we all want to help her entertain some elementary school kids. We decide to run a play. We decide to do the play Snow White. And of course, Snow White is Jade because she won the item and she's my love interest now. And eventually, after these terrible little acting scenes where they're trying to pretend to practice this play, which is of course is what they do. They practice this play in the safety of their own home to just do shit. I don't know. I'm not really sure why we're doing this. We have to kiss her to wake her up because we're Prince Charming. And it turns into a whole thing. And no one can do it. I'm not sure if we actually kiss. I don't know why this is what we're doing. And I hate every minute of it. Not long after this, Jade gets kind of manipulated into going into this dream world with Mercury. Mercury tries to hold her hostage there and we get upset. So we have to go save her. But going into the dream world means we need to face our fears once again, which we do with flying colors. June comes out of his shell and he's all cool now and he's like understanding and he accepts things, and which is great. That's cool. You know, like that's a good message. I think, you know, finally overcoming your fears and your anxieties and being able to handle them. That's a great thing to do, but it's surrounded by shit, man. So we go in there and we have to try and save her from Mercury, and all of us go eventually. I'm not really sure. I don't even know if Nori's there, but we fight her several times and then we kill her. I think Mercury is dead. She at least looks like she's obliterated. And after the end here, we just do more talking, like a lot of talking. And we're in the dream world still, and Jade and I have like this really intimate conversation. I'm not sure, but apparently we're in love. But it's like the most mild love ever, except for facial expressions, which show that she's blushing. It's extremely mild. It's like we're supposed to fill in the gaps with our own imagination, our own dirty, nasty little imaginations, which some people have probably done many times in the safety of their own home under their covers. And that is essentially the end of the game. We've defeated Mercury, the person who was trying to take everyone's Rosa Mystica. These dolls are just trying to live. They don't want to fight and take each other's Rosa Mystica. However, there are 4 plus Mercury. That means there are 5 dolls total that we've seen. There are 7 in total though, so we're missing 2. There is a second game called Gebbit Garden, and that is the rest of the anime. We'll see the other 2 dolls. We'll probably fight Mercury again, and yes, we will have to make a slog right through the next Rozen Maiden game, visual novel thing. So that's it. We made it to the credits. It took 7 separate streams to do this. This was like a 15-hour visual novel with almost no gameplay. Now, I accept this because I know that these things exist and they're out there and I will have to play them. I don't, however, have to be happy about it. So just know that I'll have some very strong opinions. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I know that I have very big opinions on anime and in general stories. I'm very cynical because I went to college for it and I learned to be very critical. And this is like a fucking mess comparatively to everything I've learned. So it's really hard for me to separate those things. Just know that you can like this stuff if you would like. I am making fun of it because it's fun. It was really fun to play. I know it seems like I hated it, but it was fun to translate. We had a great time in the stream. Everyone was making fun of the translations. You can go watch some of those if you want to hear more of the silly stuff that happened and see what some of those translations are. But I'll be doing this more in the future and we'll hopefully have more fun doing it. And that's it. Game number 54 is complete. Rozen Maiden Duellwalzer. The first part is done. We completed our first visual novel in Japanese only using a translation thing. And I got fairly close to understanding the plot without having to look anything up. There's an anime with the subs, so yeah, I could have, but I didn't. I was able to do it without it. So that means it is absolutely 100% possible to do this in the future. While I will miss things, misinterpret things, and not glean everything that is possible, it doesn't matter. It's still possible to do. We can still have fun. It doesn't matter if we get it. Stories are everything is just opinionated and subjective anyway. If we have fun, that's the point. That is the point. So I want to say a quick thank you at the end here to everyone who is in the stream who suffered through this with me. I want to thank all of the YouTube and Patreon members. On the YouTube side, we have Zooming Zorark, we have Peplo101 and Delaney. Peplo, if you hear this, you won the drawing for a free game. Come talk to me about it. On the Patreon side, we have Johnny Baghead, Jay Hank, Lucas Nicholas, James Fan, Hypervertus, Valerie, T-Roy, and Delaney. Thank you everyone for helping out the channel. We've been able to get a lot of games. We've been able to do a lot of fun stuff. I really appreciate it. It is never necessary and will always be to help the channel. I'm never going to lock content. So thank you all. Thank you everyone who watched this video. I really appreciate it. This has been so fun and there's still more to come. I hope you you enjoy the next video, which is going to be a just shredding of the Ubisoft game Horses. So come back for it, and we'll see you soon. Later.